Yes, there will be baseball. After a 99-day lockout, we now have a complete 162-game schedule starting with opening day on April 7th. To celebrate the return of baseball, we want to do a wow promotion, so here we go. The first 50 customers will get the full season of MLB, including the playoffs, for just over $3 per day. How much of a wow is this? MLB through the All-Star break is priced at $7.95 and through the World Series is priced at $1,095. But the first 50 customers can get MLB through the World Series for $6.99. No coupon is needed, and this comes out to just over $3 per day. Once we hit 50 redemptions, the super early bird discount will come down and the lowest possible price to lock in baseball will no longer be available. So act fast before you get shut out on our biggest price drop ever.
All right, guys, welcome in on a very happy Friday to you here as college basketball continues to be top of mind as we watched a couple of great games last night. 4 great games, in fact. We do have 4 teams have advanced already to the Elite Eight. We'll have 4 more here tonight when it's all said and done. We do have a couple of games on the board tonight we're going to talk about. Plus, we'll take a look ahead to those already established Elite Eight matchups, and we're going to do it with 3 of the best at WagerTalk.com. As Tony Mejia has not slept in 48 hours, but he is here. He is here. He is ready to rock. So is Brian Leonard, always ready to go. And Tony Finn has a moment of lucidity. So we're good to go here, guys. Lot to talk about here over the next 20 minutes or so. And Tony Mejia, I'll start with you, though, because I know you are locked and loaded here already, whether it be Elite Eight, whether it be tonight's matchups. Heading into the weekend, my man, what do you got going for us at WagerTalk.com?
All right, well, we got a 5% play in tonight's Sweet 16. We will probably have a 5% play in this weekend's Elite Eight. We've got a 4% soccer play you can get for the next, I think, a half hour or so. Global soccer at its finest right now with World Cup qualifying. Right now just trying to click the final few weeks of NBA because you see some guys sitting out, which means the prop market is vulnerable and baseball around the corner. But I will cede the rest of my time to Tony Finn's lucidity since we only rented that for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. We ought to hurry right through this here. Brian Leonard, how are you, my friend? Always a pleasure. I know you, whether it be NHL, whether it be, of course, a lot of college basketball still. Don't forget, we got the NITs coming up. We still have, I believe, the quarterfinals in the basketball classic. So still a lot of college hoops going on as well. Brian, what do you got for us?
Yeah, we swept the college hoops yesterday, had a couple of over-unders to cash for us, and today we've got a couple of sides, and we have our top NHL plays. So normally it's $39 for the all-inclusive for the day. I've got it up there for $29. Our top 2 college basketball plays in the Big Dance, as well as our top play in the NHL.
I love it, guys. A lot of ways to head into this weekend and make it a very profitable next few days. And Tony Finn knows all about that.
Yes, sir.
Finn, as we get ready here, NBA, nice NBA card here tonight, not to mention these the other half of these Sweet 16s. What do you got ready for us here tonight?
I have absolutely zero. Well, I have stuff ready. As soon as the show's over, the NBA goes up, and then later today, I think we'll be together for the NBA show, and we'll have everything up. What's going on now?
I just got to cut that. Listen, Robert, behind it, as soon as this show's done, when I ask him what he's got going on and he says absolutely zero, please cut that out. We'll use it on every show that we've got going on.
Well,
all right, listen.
Do you not want transparency from me?
I just want to get to why we still got you. So let's kick it off, guys. Game number 1 tonight. North Carolina. Talk about a blue blood matchup, huh? How about North Carolina taking on UCLA? This was 2, now back to 2.5 here as I'm currently looking at it. 142 seems to be the total across the board here for the most part, and obviously some injury concerns here for UCLA, but even with them, not a whole lot of movement one way or the other, Tony Mejia. So how do you approach North Carolina, UCLA tonight?
Well, I think, first of all, the big question is, will Jaime Jaquez play? And I believe the answer is going to be yes. How effective it'll be, we'll see. But, he's been playing injured all season. So, I would think he'll do what is needed of him. And typically, he's Mick Cronin's ride or die on who brings the most passion to play. Point guard Tiger Campbell is key in this matchup as well against the Tar Heels. Because, the first few minutes, I think North Carolina is going to have the run of the building geographically. UCLA has fans there, but I think there'll be more Tar Heel Nation representation in attendance. So Campbell's going to be key in getting through that early first few minutes, making sure that UCLA stays connected. And there from there, I think you'll see the matchup that we want to see in terms of another nail biter that comes down to the final minutes, where you're talking about UCLA's tournament experience, having gotten from the first 4 to the final 4 last season, and now facing a North Carolina squad that's really grown up over the past few weeks, because they looked pretty terrible under Hubert Davis for a while, and then ended up being the class of the ACC outside of Duke. Wake Forest was in there as well, but the way Armando Bacot played down the stretch, Caleb Love, RJ Davis, young guards that really struggled earlier in their careers are playing really well. So that'll be a big test there. I'm going to wait definitively to make sure that Jaquez plays before I put in a play. But again, I expect him to. So if you don't want to wait, I think you should make your plays based on the expectation that UCLA will be as close to full strength as possible.
Good point there. Brad, we just watched experience matters at this point in the game, doesn't it? We watched the Houston team last night with a lot of experience on that court for them last night, whether it be with Houston or other programs. UCLA, does it get any more experience than these guys in this point? So how do you approach this game tonight?
Yeah, Tony kind of mentioned it. The location of where this game is played, I think, is a definite advantage for North Carolina. UCLA, a team from the West Coast, having to play in the Eastern time zone. But I hate to make judgments about teams that we're not talking about, but the West Coast teams have not done well. And we saw Arizona lose yesterday, a number 1 seed. We saw Gonzaga lose, a number 1 seed yesterday. The West Coast basketball has not been very good. Even out here in the Mountain West, we had 4 teams to make the tournament. They go 0-4. Now we're making the West Coast team is somewhat of a high favorite here in my regard. I have this game probably, UCLA probably should be favored by 1. We're catching 2.5 here with the North Carolina team, who's playing their best basketball of the season. Neither team is very good defending in transition, so I think they'll both be able to run a little bit. I like this North Carolina team. There's a lot of height on this team. I like the way this team plays, and I think the line's a little bit too high today. So I'm looking at North Carolina. I think the where this game is being played is not being as much of a factor as it should be, and I'm looking to fade these West Coast teams. They have not been covering the spreads. They have not been looking impressive. UCLA does have a lot of talent on this team, no doubt about it. And they have been here before, but this North Carolina, a lot of it comes down to the coaches and how they prepare these teams. And North Carolina's had a lot of success over the years in these tournaments. So I think North Carolina's got a little bit of value here.
Listen, North Carolina playing some of its best basketball, Tony Finn, certainly down the stretch in the ACC tournament. In this game, taking down Baylor. They have looked amazing, but they are certainly tending to try to go up-tempo here, and that is not Mick Cronin. That is not UCLA. So who dictates tempo in this game? You think North Carolina can handle it?
Well, I'll tell you who dictates tempo, and that's the team who first off, rebounds the basketball well, and in combination with the team that doesn't shoot very well from the field. That would be UCLA. If they don't shoot very well from the field, then North Carolina is going to dictate tempo. Listen, to state the obvious, the Heels are playing at a level in which you either believe they will continue to play that form and back Herbie D in North Carolina, or you understand what this team has been all season. That's inconsistent nature, and that would be the backdrop in this UCLA. Basically, it would be in this UCLA victory. In that case, Joe, the number one seeds, well, the lone number one seed that remains is really the only team that is dynamic offensively like North Carolina is at this level, on this stage, I should say. So UNC is solid on the boards. They turn those rebounds into transition points. And much of this, again, depends on how well UCLA shoots. Now, the Heels have had 40-plus rebounds in 5 of the last 7, and UCLA has rebounded 40 on only 5 or 6 occasions all season. I believe UCLA is a little damaged. We talked a little bit about the injury. We'll know more basically at game time. But in this situation, it's hard for me not to support North Carolina or just completely ignore the game because of the unknown factor, that being injury.
Going to be a good one here, guys, tonight. Yeah. That's going to be, I believe, the 9:40 Eastern time tip. We've got another one right around that time slot here. And the other half with Iowa State taking on the U, Miami, Jim Larinaga and company in the Sweet 16. It did open up at Iowa State briefly, and I watched it appear on the Westgate board, and then it disappeared just as fast as it came up as the money came in on the U. Now, more money this morning. I'm seeing threes prevalent across the board here, Brian Leonard. 132 is a total. I don't think that is shocking here, but there has been nothing but love for Miami from that opening number till this morning. What do you think?
Yeah, Miami's been good to us in this tournament. I can't complain at all. I hate to call a mistake on an opening line, but how could anybody want to bet Iowa State? Sure, they've done well. They've won their games, but that has been ugly. And this is a team that is ugly if you're looking for offense. In the half court on the season, shot quality points per possession, 335th in the half court, 214th in transition. Pick and roll ball screen, 330th. Off screen, 353. I mean, this is a team from the cut, 301. This is a bad offensive team in Iowa State. Miami obviously has the clear offense here advantage. You take a look at their transition on the season. Shot quality points per possession, lead the nation, 1.19. They're going to get out and run on you. And that's the whole thing. Can Iowa State stop them? They've been pretty good defensively. That's the strength of this Iowa State team defensively. But offensively, they're so bad. And you can actually see this coming where if Miami gets out to a lead in this game, how is Iowa State going to come back? They just don't have that ability. That said, the line now at 3 is making it very hard to lay the points with Miami. The line moved 4 points very quickly, and it was the right move. Miami's the better team. They have the scoring ability. I prefer the Miami side, but I wouldn't lay any more than 3.5. I wouldn't go any farther than that. The big weakness for this Miami defense is against catch and shoot 3-pointers. They ranked 335th, but I talked about this Iowa State offense. Catch and shoot 3-pointers offensively, 327th. So they don't have that ability to take advantage of Miami that other teams have had. I like Miami here, but if you're getting in this late, you are hurting yourself from a line perspective. 3's good. 3.5 is probably okay. Don't lay 4 in this game. I think Miami's the better team, and they've been taking all the money, and that would be the only way I would look in this game.
It's kind of hard, Tony Finn, to look at Iowa State, and I've had a problem all tournament long backing teams who can't score. Iowa State can't score. Texas Tech can't score. And look, it ultimately did them in as they went in this tournament. So do you trust that their defense will generate enough offensive points here in transition to be able to take down the Canes tonight?
Well, I listened to Brian, and then you just basically reiterated what he said. But when I looked at the numbers last couple of days on Iowa State, this is a team that scored 70 points on 14 occasions. 14 times they scored 70 points. At LSU, they hit their threes and turned LSU over and made them look stupid. Of course, that's what they do. Listen, Iowa State's really their Achilles is that they too turn the ball over a little bit too much. I mean, it's kind of a conundrum there for them. It's contrary. But in this case, unlike, listen, Miami isn't Wisconsin. I think we can all agree to that. Wisconsin, it was overseeded, I thought, et cetera, et cetera. But Miami's good on the boards. They have dynamic players that can be creative and catch points in transition. And they don't have a problem with turnovers like with LSU. But if this game's in the 60s, Miami's in trouble. That's all there is to it. If Iowa State can prevent Miami from scoring, they don't have to score. They will put LSU in. They'll put them in a situation where Miami will not be as good as we've talked about. Remember, it wasn't very long ago, Joe, we did a show, and I don't remember who was on it. I thought maybe Brian was, but we were really pimping USC, how much better they were than Miami. And Miami proved us wrong on that game. Outstanding. So I'm not on this game, and I'm not on this game because I can't wrap my arms around either one of these teams other than I know that people say Iowa State can't score. They've scored this year. They have scored 70 points or more 14 times. And in those games, they win. Here we go.
So, Tony Mejia, it's interesting, too. This game is about maybe 4.5, 5 hours from Iowa there, I believe, in Chicago. So I do think Iowa State will be represented in the crowd. But I also turn around and looked at Miami has made us more money on the road this year than any other team that I can remember. They have been amazing on the road. So I don't think location makes a damn bit of difference. A bunch of 30-year-olds on this team anyway. So come on, talk to me here. Do you like Miami or Iowa State?
What really would have been fun is if Iowa would have made this part of the bracket, because they were there. It would have potentially set up an Iowa State Elite Eight game. Right. In a situation where Iowa State's opponent tonight would have had to deal with Iowa fans rooting against them and vice versa. So we don't get that. We get a game where it's going to be a battle of wills because I think Jim Laranaga's Canes do want to push in transition, do want to get their key guards, all three of them, Charlie Moore, Cam Auguste, and Isaiah Wong, all getting comfortable and going. And Iowa State, the one thing that they've been able to do is disrupt teams in a manner that Texas Tech has been able to up until the second half last night. Just trying to bully. It's the same type of defense that eliminated Gonzaga and Arizona last night. Just let's bully you. Iowa State is a little deeper than Miami, so we'll have to see. And what pulled Iowa State through to this point were two, for lack of a better term, flukish 3-point shooting games from Tyrese Hunter, the freshman, in game one. He hit 7 threes. And from Gabe Kalisher, the Minnesota transfer, who's well known for not being able to shoot. And he was humongous against Wisconsin. They've also caught some breaks. LSU's Tari Eason, their best player, came off the bench and got into foul trouble, played less than 20 minutes. In the Wisconsin game, the Badgers lost Chucky Hepburn, so Johnny Davis didn't have anybody to take some pressure off him handling the ball. So we'll see. Tonight's going to be a situation where both teams could have their hands full. If Miami, who's not a good 3-point shooting team, struggles from the field, they could find themselves down the stretch. And it could be a situation where whoever ends up with the ball in their hands last, be it Wong or McGusty for the Canes or Isaiah Brockington for Iowa State, can deliver a win. It's a homecoming of sorts for Charlie Moore, who's been in the college ranks for, I think, 6 years. So, and he was highly decorated. Started his career and was at DePaul last year, and then before that at Kansas. Started his career, I even forget where, but it's been so long he's been in college. So, a lot of guys, that's a very key matchup too, is Moore against Hunter, because Hunter's particularly young. So it'll be a fun matchup. My lean is towards the under here. I guess I disagree with Finn that if this game's in the 60s, Miami's in trouble. I think if this game's in the 60s, it's up for grab. If this game's in the 50s, Miami's in trouble, and Iowa State certainly capable of slowing it down to make it a game that's 55-54 with a couple minutes to go.
Larinaga, been here before. Final Four appearance. Who was it with, Mejia?
George Mason.
Yeah, George Mason, 2006. That's correct. So Larinaga, an opportunity to take the Canes to the Elite Eights. Should be a good one here tonight. Now, we do have, of course, a couple of Elite Eight matchups already set up. So let's take a look at some of these games here, guys, if we can, with Houston and Nova getting ready to do battle here. What a big win by Houston, knocking out number 1 Arizona last night. Arizona's like, what do you mean a 5 seed? 5 seed my ass. But that's exactly what happened here. And Nova took care of business rather easily. Always feels here, Tony Finn, like just when you think you've got Villanova where you want them, all of a sudden they're up by 12. Like, what the hell just happened here? And that seems to be how they are. That is Jay Wright. But man, oh man, the question to me is, can Houston out-physical Villanova and win this game? Do you think they can?
Well, they'll certainly try, won't they? I mean, that's one thing we've seen from this team last year, and we've seen it through the regular season this year. Like him or not, Sampson he's always done a good job wherever he was. Maybe say Indiana, it wasn't great there, and he got himself in a little bit of trouble. But Oklahoma, he had these kind of teams too. And it's going to be interesting. Let's put it this way. I think I give Jay Wright a big edge here. I give Gillespie a big edge. I give Villanova a big edge here because this is a team that, while Houston has some experience. Villanova expects to be here. These guys, they have no doubts that they're going to win this game. And I'm not saying Houston doesn't, but I really look forward to this game because if there's one thing that the Villanova does, well, they shoot the mid-range jumper well. And they don't make mistakes. And if you send them to the line, you're done. They don't miss. That's Nova.
So we did see a preview of this, Brian Leonard, didn't we, with St. John's and Villanova a little bit, where St. John's got all up in their grill there, pressed them the whole game, and boy, it was the most rattle I'd had seen Villanova this year, and they are certainly capable, Houston, of being that kind of reckless when it comes to just being all over Nova. But does a Nova have enough to get it done, in your opinion?
Yeah, this one, I can't wait for this one. I think this is going to be a terrific game to watch. Everything I like, a lot of defense, veteran coaches. Brad Powers, one of our colleagues out here in Vegas, does the same thing as we do. He put out a tweet yesterday talking about Villanova's coaching staff. The last 10 years, they've won 60% of their games. 60% of their games against the spread. I mean, that's for that long of a consistency for a team that is as well known as Villanova. It's sort of like Alabama is in college football. Everybody knows they're going to be good, and they continue to cover. Jay Wright's done a terrific job. Villanova is a very good team. Houston's a team that probably has the best starting 5 left in the tournament, I would guess. But this game is being played in San Antonio. So it's going to be a home state game for Houston. So it's tough for me to go against a team playing in their home state. But either one of these teams come out of this game, they're live to win it all. 2 very good coaches, 2 very good teams with a lot of experience. I don't have an opinion right now on this game, but I can't wait to watch it.
I can't wait to see where the line goes. You're right, Brian. By the way, those numbers, guys, just so you can see how ridiculously gaudy it is. 16-4-1 against the number in the tournament for Villanova since 2016. 16-4-1, and that includes winning it in 2018. So they have been an absolute cash cow, Tony Mejia, Villanova, over the years. Somebody said to me, it was funny, said Coach Sampson reminded him of Eddie Sutton minus the alcohol. I mean, there's really nothing you can say bad about Houston. They deserve to be in this spot. They have what it takes to get there. They did last year. Can they get through Villanova, in your opinion?
Sure they can. I mean, we saw last night the intensity which they defended with 40 minutes, and they beat my champion. They beat my Arizona Wildcats, and they punked them. They really got them shook to the point where nobody played well. Even lottery pick Benedict Mathurin. In the beginning of the second half, it seemed was to get Azuolas Tubelis going, and he started to a little bit because he's got to get Koloko going. And we saw that in that beginning surge of that second half. But Houston was out there playing football for a while and racking up the fouls and being physical. And despite the fact that Kelvin Sampson lost 2 starters in December, he's been able to cobble together a roster that has come up. I remember, Houston's in UCF's conference, so I see them a lot. And I remember thinking, the AAC is wide open again. And then we saw Jamal Sheed really step up. He had that look in his eye yesterday where nobody was going to take that game away from him. And down the stretch, we saw Kyler Edwards make big 3-pointers. That, I think, swung the game to keep it from a situation where Arizona could steal it. But look, the big variable here is what's up with Colin Gillespie's knee. Because we were watching the end of that game when they were fouling down the stretch. Michigan was trying to get back in it. Gillespie really went down in a heap, and he obviously has a history of injuries. So I would like to investigate that. I think the line swings on that. I run scenarios for my numbers. I have a line which has Villanova favored by 1, and I have a line that has Houston favored by 2, and the total in the 126 to 132 range. And I actually don't know what it is because I don't look at numbers like that until I absolutely have to. So big variable there for Villanova. But yeah, they can space out Houston in a way that few teams in the AAC can't do it, and the few teams that they run into. So certainly the Cougs are vulnerable. Cougs do have the home court advantage, as you mentioned, being in at the AT&T Center in San Antonio, and they're a little deeper and bigger. So really a tremendous matchup. And Jay Wright, Kelvin Sampson, who should be in the Hall of Fame, should be great. Sampson, he cheated by making phone calls. He didn't pay players. I think we need to get over that on that. So let me get off my soapbox on that, and I'll have a play on this tomorrow. But again, it is contingent on Gillespie. And the one last point I'll make, if you like Villanova, they'll cover for you because down the stretch you put Gillespie on the line. He's a 90% free throw shooter, and then you got Caleb Daniels and Jermaine Samuels and Justin Moore, who are all 78 or better. So if you're fouling down the stretch, as Michigan found out, that was a 4-point game, even though it shouldn't have been late in the game, and Villanova was able to space it out. They can do that against anybody.
Yeah, it's that end of game free throw shooting separates the men from the boys, and Villanova have been doing it for a while these days. Not a lot of depth on Villanova. We'll see if that comes to haunt them here a little bit, as Jay Wright only trusts 6 guys on that team, and that's all who's going to play, that's for sure. The other game, though, in the Elite Eight setup is who else? Duke. Coach K taking on the Hogs, who, unfortunately, sadness for Gonzaga as Arkansas and Pig Suey took care of them yesterday. They brought a little SEC basketball to the house, Brian. A little physicality. Took them right out of their comfort zone. Can Arkansas do that to Duke as well?
They can if they play the way they did yesterday. But it's funny. I was going to the Golden Knights game, meeting up with Carmine and Brandon. Tokyo Brandon's in town, and Marco and all. And so we're going to the game. I'm sitting in the MGM Sportsbook watching these games before the Knights game, and Arkansas is pulling away from Gonzaga, and everybody in the sportsbook, you can usually tell who the guys are that you want to fade. This guy with the biggest mouth in the sportsbook, but they're over here. Oh, this Gonzaga teams are terrible. This whole thing, and he'll never be the number 1 draft choice. Look what happened here with that center. And I look at the shot quality metrics, and after the game, if they played the normal game that these two teams have done, Gonzaga wins by like 8 points. So don't take a look at what you just saw and assume that's going to repeat. Arkansas played a great game, no doubt about it. Gonzaga did not play well, but if these two teams were to meet 10 times, Gonzaga wins that 7-8 times out of 10. So now you've got an Arkansas team against Duke. Duke's a veteran team, veteran coach. The whole thing about the coaches last year, and a lot of people are rooting for him. I know Carlos Boozer was on the show last week, and he played Duke to win it all. I believe he'll win 50,000 or something. I'm rooting for him, but I'm not rooting for Duke. I never root for Duke. I think it's a team that's overall has gotten every break in the book going back to the last decade or two. They're not playing in front of their home crowd. They're playing out in San Francisco. I don't think that's an advantage to either one of these teams. But 4 seems a little cheap to me right now based on the way this game is looking. I'm rooting for Arkansas. I want Arkansas to win, but at this point, I don't think I have enough value to play them.
I'm listening to that broadcast last night, Tony Finn. Every time Note took a ball and chucked up a 3 and barely hit the rim, they're screaming like, "What are you doing? Like, stop chucking up threes!" But it didn't end up hurting them, even though they can't hit threes.
Nope.
They're probably going to need to hit a few, though, against Duke here. So what do you think we get with the Blue Devils and the Razorbacks?
Well, this is my best bet for the show. Pardon me. If we're doing best bets, I think we are. I'll say this. If you think Arkansas can limit Duke the way they limited Gonzaga, 68 points in 77 possessions, I think. Listen, that if there's one thing, and I'll speak to it in the best bet segment, but if there's one thing that's different about this Duke team yesterday, their last game, that wasn't there in the regular season is how they're finishing games and how they seem to be, all season long, guys. I said that I thought this group of Duke players who I think all of us wouldn't be surprised if they had 5 first-round draft picks in the NBA draft, right? These 5 guys, first-round draft picks. How they seem to be just playing poorly or felt the pressure of that the farewell tour that he was on, et cetera, et cetera. Now, guess what the farewell tour? It's the farewell tour for all of them in the season, and they're playing pretty good. I'll talk more about it during the best bet segment.
Tony, I can't help but watching that second half last night from Duke reminded me a lot of those non-conference games they played early on, like against Gonzaga, where they have all the tools. They look like a Final Four team early on in the season. They look like it again in that second half last night. Question is, which team shows up, do you think, against the Razorbacks?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Duke look terrible against Virginia Tech very recently in that ACC tournament final. But this is one of those games where it is a team with 6 top 40 players in Duke against a team that has none in Arkansas. And I'm talking about recruiting rankings in terms of that, and just the fact that these guys are grinders at Arkansas. And what Eric Musselman's been able to do has been fantastic. Love that guy, and he's a tremendous coach and motivator, and he finds a way with, again, pieces that J.D. Notae started his career at Jacksonville. Stanley Amude was at South Dakota. Tony, who was tremendous last night as a defender, Pittsburgh. And the only top 100 on the roster is 5'7" Chris Lykes, who we saw at Miami for so long, and he really can't be out there because he's a defensive liability. That's your only top 100 at Arkansas right now, and he's their free throw specialist at the moment. That's how Musselman is using him. Just a fantastic job, and it would be fitting if Muss takes out Coach K. I think Krzyzewski would have to shake his hand and say thank you. And what the hell was that with Jim Nantz last night, trying to end Krzyzewski's career by just openly jinxing them and saying, "Hey, do you want to finish that sentence with the 8 for 8 on free throw?" That was so funny, and I almost never forgave him because I was on Duke. But Duke ended up not missing a shot for like the last 8 minutes, and we saw Paolo Banchero become the number 1 pick on a night that maybe Chet Holmgren lost that, although Holmgren got a bad whistle himself. But look, Holmgren got a bad whistle. Probably 2 of those 5 fouls were not merited, especially these officials should know that it's not about them, it's about the show. And probably half the audience were seeing the projected top 3 pick, who's 7'2", 7'3", for the first time, and didn't get to see him because of the foul trouble. And a couple of those whistles were ridiculous. But again, even with all of that, Arkansas deserved that win, probably would have won anyway, and can certainly beat Duke if they take Banchero out of his game and maybe get Mark Williams out of foul trouble. But quality depth-wise, Duke has Arkansas, but Arkansas can certainly win. And Arkansas wants the game played probably in the low 70s. Duke wouldn't mind it in the 80s.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's both those games, guys, set for tomorrow, Saturday, the Elite Eight, but we got to get through the 4 games here tonight, and now it is time to check out which one of these games these guys like a little bit more than the others. So, Brian Leonard, I'll come to you here, man. Which one of these games did you circle maybe you're leaning towards?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier. The UCLA game against North Carolina. I like North Carolina here. Catching the 2.5. I like the way North Carolina plays. I like the way they rebound. UCLA having to play on the East Coast doesn't help. So I'm looking at North Carolina in this game. I do want to make a point about a game we haven't discussed, and that's the St. Peter's-Purdue game goes today, also a little bit earlier. I've read a lot of quotes from sportsbook managers saying 74% of their tickets are on St. Peter's in this game, and everybody coming in betting St. Peter's to win it all. They've got more liability on St. Peter's to win the championship than anybody. And Tony talked about this a little bit earlier about St. Peter's being the team that everybody loves right now. Well, if that's the case, why did this line move from Purdue 12.5 to Purdue 13? The guys who are betting the money know that this is a cheaper line for Purdue. Sure, Purdue struggles defensively, but St. Peter's was very lucky. When you come out of those games from a shot quality standpoint, against Kentucky, they only had an 8% chance of winning. Last game out, a 42% chance of winning. Purdue is the better team. Purdue is the team that I would back in this game. Anything can happen in one game, but if the market's telling you Purdue's the right side and everybody in the sports book is telling you St. Peter's is the right side, tells me I want to have my money on Purdue in that game.
Solid, very solid point. I mean, how many more threes can that dude with the stash actually hit? I mean, come on, stop it. Can't hit more threes with that stash. Talk to me here, Tony Finn. Which way are you looking here tonight? You said Duke. Talk to us.
Yeah. Okay, quickly. I don't want to take too much time, so that way you'll be happy with me, right? Duke
right,
essentially played. They played with Michigan State compared to catnip. They just played with them, and they looked comfortable and almost stoned through the game, and did what they hadn't done a lot of times this year. Virginia, and Tony mentioned it, lost by 15 to Virginia Tech not very long ago. They don't look like the same team. They played cool, they played collected, and then they slammed the door when they had to. They slammed the door, and that's what in the past. What's what Coach K teams that won championships or were right there on the final Monday of the first Monday of April. That's what they did. What you're going to see is listen, Arkansas is going to try to do what they did to Gonzaga. They're going to pick a guy out, and we know who that guy's going to be. Listen, if Jeremy Roach in particular has an outstanding game, the sophomore put up 30 on 21 shots over the past 2 wins. 5 assists, I think, against the Raiders. Really has looked good. We knew this team was talented. They're playing really well for Coach K. I don't know how in the world. And this is very similar. Joe, you mentioned it. You said Texas Tech couldn't score enough points, right? Arkansas, same team, cannot score enough points. Give me Duke minus the 4.
Getting Duke it is. All right, Mahia. Come on, man. Moment of truth. A lot of ways to approach this board. What's your best bet for the show?
All right, my best bet for the show is actually on tomorrow's basketball classic quarterfinals. So I've successfully hidden what my 5% play is tonight, so you can go purchase it. And I have I put a package up for the exact same price, which features all my picks for tonight. So you can. Some people, and I've talked to them, say, "Hey, I only want your top 5%." Over 120 units since I came on board WagerTalk, #1 on the site, October 2020. So yeah, those are my best bets. But hey, I'm giving you the rest of the package for free. So you click on the 5% Sweet 16 Friday Plus. If you want just a single bet, do that too. But yeah, my best bet for the show is on tomorrow's basketball classic quarterfinal. The semis are actually set, where Fresno State is waiting to host the winner of Portland and Southern Utah, and the other game on Monday is South Alabama and Coastal Carolina. the final semifinalists in this tournament that nobody knows when the championship game will be played yet is Portland Southern Utah. And it's a matchup of Shante Leggins, who used to be the point guard at Cal and the head coach at Eastern Washington. So very familiar with Southern Utah because they both play in the Big Sky. Coaching up against Todd Simon, who had a cup of coffee at UNLV, and also a very talented coach. These teams know each other well. They played 10 times while Leggins was at Eastern Washington, and most of those games were very high scoring. Both of these teams let the three-pointers fly. They both lost key guards, and still, were very impressive. Southern Utah went into UTEP and bullied them, and really dominated that game. Few people expected that. And Portland, won their game with a blowout, and really an immediate turnaround for the Pilots of the West Coast Conference, who beat San Francisco, played St. Mary's and Gonzaga, and should on paper be better battle tested than the Thunderbirds. With Thunderbirds are a 4-point favorite. Bottom line, read the write up at wt.buzz/TM and ride the over, which is around 155. It's going to take about 85 points to win this one.
That might go over in the first half. Portland, Southern Utah, love it, man. Points, and more points. Our friends from the Gold Sheet, they too have a play of the day that they are looking at here. And this is a great write-up, guys. We didn't talk about the game here. Brian mentioned it. Purdue taking on St. Peter's. The Gold Sheet all over Purdue here, guys. Even at that 13 number, would encourage you to read up on this here, guys. Great write-up at Gold Sheet. We post them on our Twitter page at Wager Talk. But if you head over to goldsheet.com, you'll get this along with other write-ups on the games going on. Great handicapping tools always available over at thegoldsheet.com. All right, I'm going to go with a total here tonight, and I don't think, and I get it, UCLA, good defensive team. Mick Cronin don't like to speed up. I get it. We've heard it. But there is no way North Carolina is going to want this game and allow UCLA to get in any sort of half-court defense here. Every time UCLA misses, North Carolina is going to be on the run. It's what they've been doing. In fact, I believe the over 21-13 in North Carolina's games this season. This one's going over, guys. I don't think it comes anywhere close to staying under 140. So I'll take the over in the North Carolina UCLA game here at 142. And to recap, once again, we've got Mejia going tomorrow night, expecting points. I'll give you points. Portland, Southern Utah over the 154.5 or 55. Brian Leonard, well, he likes them Tar Heels here. Thinks there is some value there. Grab those 2.5 points against UCLA. Finn is all over Duke. I'm on the over in the UNC UCLA game, and our friends from the Gold Sheet, they'll lay the 13. Should be more like 23, but they'll lay that 13 against St. Peter's tonight. Now, you heard the guys mention here, best bets already locked and loaded. Mejia's got his 5% best bet ready to go, which comes with every other play he's got ready, and nobody more profitable NHL guys right now cruising than Brian Leonard. He's got his best bets locked and loaded, as does Tony Finn. So now would be a good time for you to head over to WagerTalk.com, get that 3-day, 7-day, 30-day all-access package, and get every one of their plays and never have to worry about missing a beat. Head over to WagerTalk.com and visit all three gentlemen. All right, we'll be back again on Monday. All of this will sort itself out. We'll have a pretty good idea on what is coming your way for a Final Four and possible championship. We'll have that for you next week. But until then, on behalf of Tony Mejia, his brother Tony Finn from a different mother, and Brian Leonard, guys, appreciate you hanging with us here. We'll be back on Monday. Best of luck with your plays, guys. We'll talk to you then.
Yes, there will be baseball. After a 99-day lockout, we now have a complete 162-game schedule starting with opening day on April 7th. To celebrate the return of baseball, we want to do a wow promotion, so here we go. The first 50 customers will get the full season of MLB, including the playoffs, for just over $3 per day. How much of a wow is this? MLB through the All-Star break is priced at $7.95, and through the World Series is priced at $1,095. But the first 50 customers can get MLB through the World Series for $6.99. No coupon is needed, and this comes out to just over $3 per day. Once we hit 50 redemptions, the super early bird discount will come down, and the lowest possible price to lock in baseball will no longer be available. So act fast before you get shut out on our biggest price drop ever.